Greetings there, folks. How's everyone doing today out there in Twitch land? All right, so I'm just going to call it from now on, Twitch land. From the Tomes at Twitch TV, from the Tomes. Fox and Board Games on YouTube. Feel free to take a look at either one. Twitch is where you get the live chat with the finest minds in gaming, or at least the people who follow my channel, who very well could be the finest minds in gaming. And of course, Fox and Board Games. Hey, there you are. Yeah, same here. The exact same here, in fact. Fox and Board Games on YouTube, give a search. And foxandboardgames.com, as well as Fox and Board Games on Twitter and Facebook. All the info, all the stuff, all the links that you need to make your game streaming experience finished. And again, as always, thanks a lot for subscribing, following, liking, supporting. It means a lot to me. The channel just keeps growing. I'm looking forward to getting the game out in a play testable form. If we're gonna call it that, play testable. I don't know. They're my notes from earlier for something totally different. And then I will certainly, hopefully, have the publications out and about on time. I hope for spring to summer. It's kind of my determined set date. And McNancy, slow morning. Not really a slow morning. I was up early. I do music as well, and I had a music lesson at 9 a.m. So that's interesting. Interesting talk. OSR versus newer gaming style or narrative style, such as what you're working on. I mean, mine's kind of in the middle. It's got a lot of heavy narrative elements. Like I said, the current story, the current scenario that the players are playing through is all narrative, investigative, all that kind of stuff, social interaction based. But system wise, I'm probably still closer to old school. Would be my thought. I don't know. I mean, I've always been that person who has said, "Oh, I don't like to categorize. I don't like to categorize what I do, whether it's been art or music or writing or gaming or whatever." But, it helps people identify it. I think the feel of this is definitely old school. I mean, just the fact it's so heavily rooted in sword and sorcery and the genre of sword and sorcery. I think it's by nature very old school. I think the dicing system is closer to that. Yeah, it's cool seeing more designers come on here too. Like for a long time, it was just I avoided Twitch for a long time because everyone's like I just thought it was people just playing games, playing video games, or doing occasionally tabletop playthroughs or board game playthroughs. But it's cool seeing some designers, such as yourself and other folks I've looked at recently. Doing a little bit of that. So here we are again. We wrapped up yesterday with the Furore. I didn't spend much more time on it last night. I actually worked on the scenario a bit with my game time last night. Game design time last night. Tomorrow night's chat. Trying to come up with a topic, but I think it's going to maybe be talking a little bit about, we talked a little bit about culture in a broad sense and unique cultures in a broad sense in another Wednesday night chat. But I'm thinking this week's might be something we've brought up on the chat here quite a bit recently. These kind of monocultures, these kind of tribal cultures versus a broader, kind of more open multiculture, such as you find in most tabletop RPGs. And how do you design for both? How do you design each? Let's see where we're at. Have you begun work on your other character sheets? I definitely liked what you did as far as the step progression on the sheets themselves, so you could follow it as a player. And like I said, I think that's something I need to come up with for my game. Yeah, I mean that's kind of yeah. But I think that's something I've talked a lot about in when we talked about player agency and different play styles and different. Or even Crone out there this morning. We should come closer so he's pretty cool to hear. I've been listening to him all morning. I don't know if you could hear him on this. But you know that's I think that's a big point of discussion on these kind of ongoing chats. Players do what they get rewarded for, and it's interesting that so few, particularly the old school games, and even the newest iteration of D&D has no real structure or incentive for social interaction, though it's very role play focused. The character development section in 5th ed is, you know, years beyond what previous D&D incarnations were. Not quite up there with some games where there is this heavy character focus and heavy character development focus and background focus, but it's there still is no structure there to support the social, to support reward or give any kind of grounded validity to the social interactions. Oh, cool. Yeah, like I said, if you have a link for stuff you've published or that you have out there, feel free to drop it here. Always interested in taking a look and letting people throw out their content, their ideas. Cool. No, feel free to post it up here. I have a Discord. I haven't really been keeping up on Discord. I mean, I'm just bad at it. I just get on it once or twice a week to do online RPGs with friends, and I barely get on my own Discord. I can post a link. You feel free to post it there. Mostly inhabiting it are some of my game design students and friends right now. A lot of them are definitely more video game centric, but they might be interested in seeing what people are doing. I guess I'm supposed to do some online D&D this week, so I guess I'm glad I'm updating Discord. But feel free to throw it up here too. I mean, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, I've looked at Reddit a little bit and I just tap on it really quickly. You can have really great interactions and experiences, or you're just kind of like, yeah, this is Usenet or one of those early internet, um, early internet platforms re-envisioned. With all the same, I don't know, personality quirks and idiosyncrasies and cool. So this right here would be your playtest documents folder. Yeah, that's kind of where this is going. Is I'm getting everything, all the documentation into one volume so that I can get it up to playtest, public playtest spec. And here's for my Discord, a general invite link. I had so little activity and really never any problem on there, so I don't mind keeping an active invite link. That's pretty cool. It's a unique perspective of versatility. All right, start working on some animal totems. had no information I wanted. One of my old documents. Discover totems at a young age. Totems are interesting concepts, especially when applied to modern culture. I could go on. I've been around a lot of neo pagan groups and individuals and thought philosophies, and I've looked at these things in both our modern and our ancient context. I don't think it's right to discount it in a modern context. I've done totem journeying and stuff like that, and I don't think it's wrong to discount it in our modern context, but I just feel this whole concept is so divorced from how natural people living next to the earth interacted with animals. Yeah, I had a really weird experience. I mean, I've had experiences since I was very young. Hey, how's it going? Blissful. I've had experiences I was very young with seeing foxes that weren't there. That's the best way I can describe it. That's something that's happened to me since I was a very young child, and of course, it happened much less as I got older. Um, but when I did the whole totem journey thing, it ended up being a donkey of some a donkey like horse, which uh, several people have suggested could be a primitive horse, which was a real shocker to me because I don't have any specific affinity for that particular. I mean, I like horses. I've been around horses. I've ridden horses. My partner is a big horse person. She grew up riding and does not do it much anymore. But we're in horse country. But I've never really felt connected to horses in that way. But totems are different things too. They're, you know, a lot of people say they also come and go as you need them, and they can take on different forms. And then you get into like some of the northern European concepts of totems where they're it's more of like a shape shifting, a spiritual shape shifting than necessarily a magical animal. It's really complicated, but it's one of those things almost every primitive culture or tribal, I don't want to use the word primitive, tribal culture has had. But in this world, the totems are real. They're tangible spirits. They are literal spirits. So it's a different kind of thing. But yeah. Oh, my Skype is still on. Okay. Not an open connection. I'll shut that down for bandwidth. Um, where's that document? It's funny that sort of like in Native American culture, some totems are adversarial, and I find that really amusing. Like they're not your friendly spirit guide; they're like these kind of adversarial animals that show up and challenge you in various ways. It's kind of the crazy thing is I could probably do like a whole book on each one of these cultures I'm working on, which isn't a bad thing. It's just not anything I'm going to be able to do right this second. Oh no, absolutely not. And that's and it's interesting because the guy who did the vision work with me, Raven Gramassi, who is a really well-known writer in he's dead now, unfortunately. But he's one of the few people I ever ran into in that whole scene that I took really seriously. This guy was no fluffy, stuff. It was really researched. It was some of it was very kind of off center and a little dark. And his big thing was Italian witchcraft and Italian magic, and I have off the boat relative. Half my family's off the boat from Sicily. So, obviously I've got pretty deep connections to that part of the world. But he said that these horse like and donkey like spirits, visions are really not atypical among people of Italian descent, and it spit on me. And he said, "Yeah, that's Italian witchcraft." Now, this guy knew nothing about me. He knew literally nothing about me. I got to know him over the years in various ways, but at this time, this guy knew nothing about my background, and it was a really kind of weird. And again, to me, a lot of this feeds into things like ancestral memory and hereditary memory, which we know is a thing now. We know that maybe not in the way we think of memory, but DNA has memories. Well, yeah, exactly. And again, it's a weird thing. And then right after that, I ended up going to this new age shop in upstate New York, and the woman in there said, "There's something for you over there on that altar." I was like, "Okay." A witchcraft shop, not a new age shop. A witchcraft shop. She was definitely a little more hardcore Celtic witch. She's like, go over there and take something off the altar. There's something there for you. And I walked over, and there was this stone, like little stone carving, modern, not authentic, but stone carving petroglyph of a cave horse. That was really strange because this was like a week after I'd had this experience. I was just like, okay, now we're on to something, and I haven't really explored it recently, and I should probably go back and explore it. It's more especially because I'm working with these concepts in this game. Where are you? Okay, there you are. So the animals that I list here. Yeah, it's kind of funny because that was also a point in my life that I was really active in several scenes like that, and there were many sequences of these really strange things that I don't write off as coincidence. I mean, again, I'm by nature actually a pretty analytical person and therefore a little skeptical. But when you see this pattern of things over, let's say, 2 months that just keep cropping up and reappearing unbidden, and you start going, that's really weird, you know? And another with that same person who had that shop up in upstate New York, I had another set of experiences with a figure from old Celtic mythology that I had no knowledge of, no affinity of. But she kept saying, "Yeah, I see this person around you." And by the way, he's related to horses in the mythology. So it was all this weird kind of like month or two, and I've been out of that scene for a long time for not wanting drama reasons because inevitably when you get groups of people, especially with that kind of energy and intent and personality, some sort of crazy drama erupts. And I've been a little bit out of it, but it was definitely an interesting time period of strange things occurring that were undeniable. I mean, I also met a lot of people on that scene that literally every time a pipe gurgled in their house, they said it was a ghost trying to talk to them. And I'm like, okay, again, I'm into all that. I'm not a disbeliever in any of it by any means, but I was like, okay, reel yourself in. It's like there's always this fine line between wanting to believe, quote the X Files, and actually having some kind of even observational correlations. I won't say evidence because again, evidence, scientific. The word evidence in science is very specific. Of course, as I'm talking, I went down the rabbit hole and started editing this other document that is loosely related to this one. So I have to stop myself. Oh, mythical and chimeric beasts called Ton. All right, here's where I talk about the animals. So this brings me to an interesting point. Says just probably disagree, dismiss everything. Yeah, yeah, that's really funny. Yeah, astrology is a weird thing too. Again, I have friends who are very serious about astrology, and by that I mean they've had deep study of it as a discipline, not just as this kind of cursory thing. They read a horoscope and go, "Oh yeah, that's me," but really deep study. And I have friends. Well, I haven't seen him in a very long time, but I was pretty good friends with a guy for a while from Taipei, whose father is a Chinese astrologer, and he could just. It was really interesting because it was also so specific. Everything in Chinese astrology can get so specific and so detailed. And the guy was rarely wrong. So again, you kind of look at that and you say, well, I'm not sure what the mechanism is that's making this real, but this isn't our typical modern vision of a, goofy TV astrologer spouting bizarre BS to people who call in and pay them money. This guy was really, really good at what he did, and he had another job. He had another job. He was, I forget, he did something in business. I forget what, but he's a high end business guy too. He wasn't, again, it wasn't a guy that you normally perceive as the flaky hippie with astrology or whatever stereotype you would use. By the way, that includes like a huge number of my friends too. By the way, but it it's definitely a thing, and people who are good at it can be really, really good at it, and even Western astrology too. But like I said, I've also met a lot of people who are extremely, how should I put this, reality challenged in those scenes. Well, in gaming and in any alternative culture, I think that's a sign of alternative culture too. Is that people who tend to exist in other states, in other places, for better or for worse. Uh, And this is also tough because so do I use real and I have real world animals existing in this game and they're often in the forms of megafauna. And there are other animals that are kind of similar to what we have here but are not necessarily exact correspondences. Like the one mountain range I describe as having a predator that is a hyena ish, wolf ish, which I know hyena and wolves are not related. A hyena ish creature. Well, we'll leave it with hyena-ish. That is dominant there. So do I take those and make those the totems? Do I make up the animals? Or for the sake of ease, do I use animals we relate to? Because there are animals that we know in this world. I did that to make it easy on myself, so I don't have to make up a whole wildlife kingdom. More than what I'd like to do. And it's a tough call because I'm like, of course, it's really interesting to have all these different kinds of animals be the totem. I guess I've kind of answered my own question. I guess I don't have much of a choice. I guess I'm in this deep, and I'm like, well, I guess I got to keep going. Uh, I mean, there's some things that I might not get so crazy with. Like one of the animal totems, common animal totems, is the trout, and I'm not going to make up a whole new trout. I think there's a point that it can get really redundant and overwrought. And also, I think the player base, I don't think we necessarily have to have a GM describe a whole new version of a trout when they could just say it's a fish like a trout. you know, okay, we all kind of can get an idea or look up what a trout looks like, how a trout behaves. Yeah, pretty much. You know, Fritz Lieber described this really well in one of the New On books when he was talking about one of the animal archetypes in his world that it represented the ideal of that animal, the ultimate expression of the nature of that animal. And I think that's a really interesting take on all this, especially when we start dealing with how humans relate to animals and place spiritual investment into animals. Also, welcome to all the new viewers who have appeared as I'm here doing some writing. And while some of us are doing some chatting on games and spirit animals and totems and tribal cultures and stuff, it looks like that's going to be this week's topic of conversation. Maybe into next week, who knows? It's a big topic. It's funny. I listen to like one mythology podcast, and every week they start out with, or every 2 weeks, or however often they do it. Well, we're gonna have this topic today, but we quickly realized this could be three whole segments, And I think that's how I'm realizing that these things kind of manifest. You kind of come up with this little seeded topic, and you start going, "Oh, I'll talk about this while I'm writing," and I'll do a chat on it, and then like when we did religion last week or culture a few weeks ago, or maybe over a month ago now, it was so big. A landline ringing. That's a mystery sound right there. Still have a landline because we often have trouble getting signal back here. It's the only reason why I have it. Groups and subgroups. Okay. So let's see how the animal kingdom was divided. Like the thing you start thinking about. Okay, so we have that. Okay, it's fully plausible that. Yeah, getting some fan noise, I see, if I have my mic up there. There we go. Slightly quieter location. That's probably a good way to handle it. I already had kind of alternate names made up for these animals in the Faroe language. So I think using them as kind of a basis and using that sort of animal as a basis is probably a good way to kind of start it. And then, I might get deeper into this and create these creatures as unique to this world and then apply it. But I think this is a good way to kind of get it rolling. Of course, I'll alphabetize all this because they're almost alphabetized right now. Yeah, okay. I'll just organize them. and I'll start actually adding more description. Actually, Curzon, I am working on the mythology of the Frore, which was your last character. So this is exactly what would have been cool to have developed for that test, but um, I'm actually now just getting to determining what sort of totemic and clan affiliations are present in the Frore. You know, and as you know, and as people who've been kind of sticking around the game for a long time know, eventually this will feed into um, characters being able to have gifts that manifest aspects of their spiritual belief. Again, you can't really have clerics. Cleric is a very specific thing. There are no real clerics per se, or divine magic users. But my thought has always been to have a path of the gifts that deal with manifesting something divine or otherworldly that is not magic, that is not related to it. Then I figure like I have kind of hit all the things that I think. Yeah, I mean that was always my vision for this game. My vision for this game was that complexity was not going to come in to system. The complexity was going to come into being able to make really unique characters and different types of characters and tell different types of stories with the game versus having the complexity be in the die pools or and modifiers. And I'm sure I'm going to have some people, while my research on weaponry, ancient medieval weaponry and combat is pretty extensive both for the game and otherwise. I treat weapons very loosely. Weapons are an augmentation. Having a different weapon might not necessarily change your character or the outcome of combat in the way that it might in some other games. And I'm sure people are going to eventually start saying, well, if your game's this sword and sorcery, maybe you should have this, a more extensive idea of how bashing weapons will work versus a trident versus and I know all this. Yeah, I've been in that world. I'm pretty familiar with how this all worked in an historical context, but that's not the point of this game. And hey, you know what? Maybe at some point I'll write a supplement book, expanded weapons rules. Expanded combat rules to make combat more realistic, which we know it's not realistic in any of these games. Any of us who have ever practiced any kind of physical, real world martial art. Yeah, I mean, that's my plan. And you know what? This game, I think there's so many options to read through, but I don't think this is even a game where character creation is complex. It's not Warhammer. It's not Twilight 2000. It's not any of these games. They're an aesthetic choice in this game. They're an aesthetic choice, and they add to the power of the attack or the defense. So they basically are a bonus. And whether you want to say your sword is a big curved bulwar, or you want to say, I mean, I have a differentiation between heavy swords and light swords, because we know historically the way people fought with different sizes and thicknesses of swords or breadths of swords, I should not thickness, did define fighting styles. But this game's not about that, and I really don't want to make it about that. If you want to say your sword is actually a big double-bladed World of Warcraft style axe, hey, great. Like I think that's wonderful. If you want to say your sword is a big pig sticker, and has one more like a fighting knife that has one sharp edge and it's mostly point, and that's how you fight with it, that's fine. I don't make those differentiations. I kind of don't have the desire to make this game about that. And again, if at some point somebody wants to make their own rules, or I decide I'm going to make or somebody wants to write a custom a supplement for it that deals with, like the one guy who I know he's an ex army staff sergeant who's working on the miniature war game that I'd like to publish. It's excellent. It's sci-fi, but it's also very rules friendly. It's not Warhammer. It's very casual. He's sat down and played with his 10-year-old daughter, and she loves it. So, if he ever gets really into the weapons end of it and wants to write a more comprehensive weapons end of it, or somebody does, then great. Or if I decide to. I think it's funny that there are the 7 major animal totems where most of the families fall. And then I've got this whole collection of kind of weird little ones that I think people might be like, oh, but I kind of like that one. I don't know, maybe one or two of these will end up in a major family, or maybe not. Maybe that's kind of the interest, that you get these kind of controlling, like in any society, you get these controlling families who are aligned with these different, very common, prominent animals, and then you have a lot of smaller groups and people who are into these groups. By the way, Tom, if you scroll back up, McNancy posted the link to a game they're working on, which looks pretty cool. I'll scroll back up. This would be right here. And I'll go back and highlight this if anybody tunes in later. I know some more people have tuned in. Hello, everybody. I've kind of had my head in the paperwork, so I haven't been greeting people necessarily as they come in. And that reminds me, Tom, I still have to look up VDO Ninja. Interesting. Oh, so this is also how you bring in other view. Yeah, so this is how you bring in multiple viewers and stuff like this. Okay, cool. Yeah, obviously I'm gonna need to really look at this. Oh, it doesn't have old chat when you log in. Well, that's annoying. Bad Twitch. Okay, so it's also my self promotion channel in the Discord. Great, glad you did that. I believe that's it again there. Yeah, Tom, feel free to drop in, Curzon, feel free to drop in your Twitch stream as well. It's like the Odyssey and rock paper scissors. It's interesting. Reminds me of the old Mind's Eye Theater LARP system with rock paper scissors. Okay. Yeah, I've never gotten as much into the rock paper scissor method of resolution, but I think the advantage of it is it's something non gamers can grasp, and people who just want the story and the role play can grasp. That was the whole point behind doing it in Mind's Eye Theater. I had come up with a card system that was the playing card system that was later adapted by a LARP group, local LARP group that had been running fairly large games. Well, that's pretty cool. That's how it goes, Curzon. Like I said, I'm fairly sure that I'll check in last night's section. Check out last night's section. I mean, you're barely through the intro point of the Tails scenario. Well, we only played a couple hours, and we spent a lot of that time actually kind of getting back up to speed on the rules and the environment. So I'm hoping this game will be a little bit more this week, this coming weekend, will be a little bit more focused on the game itself. Which whatever way is fine. We're all still learning it. And we have some. Thanks, Curzon, for the heads up. We have some dissonance going on there. I don't know what it is that is doing that. I don't have anything running on my end. I could be misunderstanding you, though. Like on my system, there's no other video or anything running. Oh, huh. That's weird. Um, Nancy, can you hear me okay? Are you having anything going on your end? Yeah, I don't have anything running, Tom, on my end. Like I didn't launch your video or anything. I didn't click. So I don't think I did. I don't see it on my screen. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, someone else had something like that happen one day too on their end. No, it worked out. It was something on his end. That's why I was like, I don't think anything's running. I was like, if it is, I don't see it, which is or hear it, which is really odd. All right, so I've got my collection of course, I'm thinking of like half a dozen other totems, but I think this is enough to start, and I think you know if somebody wants to take one of these and modify it. Now the question is, am I going to detail the other two aspects, the ancestors and the 10? I guess I should put something in there about them, but let's start with the animal totems. Yeah, somebody did that one day. I forget who was on. Did something similar too. They were like, "I can't hear you. There's the song playing," and I'm like, "I'm not playing any music." And we went back and forth for several minutes. I was like, "I really don't think so." Like it's not. I don't hear it or see it. If it's something going on in the background, that would be weird because I don't know it's there. But it happens. But then plenty of times I've talked for 20 minutes with no mic on. That has definitely happened. Especially if like I have to shut it to go do something and then come back and I'm like, 20 minutes later I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't notice what I was doing. I have to get out my New Territories map. Haven't changed all the names on the maps yet. No, not gonna rush to do that. Changed all the branding on the maps. Maps. All right, friends. I'm going to wrap up the stream for today. Finding this time slot around noon to actually be one of the more beneficial, noon or later. Oh, yeah, I see I'm getting some massive lag here, as was indicated by McNancy. Getting some significant delays here. And I believe that could be some of the weather systems that are coming through later. Heavy duty latency. All right. Well, maybe that's a sign from a spirit creature of some sort, since that's our topic for today. A spirit creature of some sort to come back at another point. So I think we're going to wrap it up. Make sure I save my work. So again, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for coming on and chatting, dropping some of your links. Yeah, Curzon, I think you're on my Discord. If not, I'll send you the link. And feel free to go promote your stream on there too. I know some of our mutual former students, or at least students you met at Game Jam, are on there. And great to see everyone. Yeah, it's been good. Good to share ideas. I'll be on for tomorrow night for our main chat, and well, not main, our kind of our group chat, and I'll announce the topic, send out invites later. It'll be 7 o'clock Eastern time. And again, from the Tomes, Twitch TV, YouTube, Fox and Board Games. Feel free to search that or drop over to Twitch if you want to get on some of our live conversations and interactions. And foxandboardgames.com, the landing pad for all things Tales of the Harrowed Land and other games. Fox and Board Games, Twitter and Facebook. And again, big thanks to everybody for coming in, chatting, watching, lurking, subscribing, following to all my various channels. And we'll continue work on our tribal culture, spirituality throughout the week. Thanks a lot and have a great day.